half regression candidates. And this is a really fun one. Mine is blank because honestly, what Eno said and what Eric said, I just say like that Toby who's doing really well. That is the regression candidate. But I actually do have another interesting one that I want to talk about. But I'm gonna let you guys go first. Paul, I love yours. Yours is my favorite pick here of the lot.
So yeah, I got one that isn't as obvious, and I don't say that as like a slam on, he picked the right ones. But I got Emerson Hancock coming back to earth a bit. Not necessarily a colossal fall off, but he's maintained these strong ratios for the first half. I just don't think he's a 317, 101 ERA whip combo. I think he's more like a mid to upper threes guy and a representative whip that'll go up with that. And I think we've already started to see that a little bit. I think we'll see more of it in the second half, especially as he finishes up his first full season in the majors too, which I think is a big deal that sometimes we never really know. Like, he's not some baby, he's 27, but that first full year in the majors is always tough come those dog days in August. So I think we're going to see a lesser version of Emerson Hancock. And if you could sell high on him, I would certainly consider it. Otherwise, just ride it out because I don't think he's going to totally tank. You're still going to win for having drafted him or picked him up on the waiver wire. But I do think it'll be worse, closer to a 4 ERA with a decent whip.
All right, what we got here? Just name them all.
No, I like that one because his arm slot is also dropping, and there's some like weird things going on with his stuff. He's becoming more of a side armor. Should make him a problem against lefties should become more of a problem for him going forward. And so I considered him, but I just thought I'm just gonna name all the low hanging fruit just so that I'm just gonna blast them all out because these are guys who have basically, if you have a sub 20% strikeout rate, I found this, I did the research on this. If you have a sub 20% strikeout rate, you are a 1 in 124 shot at being a top 15 pitcher. You are a 1 in 60 shot at being like a top 50 pitcher. You're like a 1 in 10 shot or 1 in 30, 1 in 30 shot of being a top 75 pitcher. So these guys have all been top 75 pitchers so far. And I just don't think they will continue to be because they are all sub 20% strikeout pitchers. Eduardo Rodriguez, Nick Martinez, Mike McGreevy, and Jonathan Lambert.
Pete Lambert.
Yep.
Jonathan Lambert. Who's Jonathan Lambert?
No idea. No idea who Jonathan
That's not a player.
It was.
Well,
he's a journalist.
I didn't mean to take any away from anyone, but I was just
thinking of
if if you want a one stat, like strikeout rate's not bad. Like
strikeout minus walk.
Look at one. Yeah, I mean strikeout minus walk is better, but like the more important part of strikeout minus walk is strikeout because you can have you could have if you're like a 20% strikeout rate with a 5% walk rate, you know, it's actually better to be 25 to 10. Yeah,
I totally agree. Totally agree.
What's really funny to me, everybody listening to The Craft right now might be like, hold on a second. I remember on an episode of The Craft, and Nick were talking about exactly this of like, hey, these are these guys that are under a 20% strikeout rate. And listen, it's really rare for them to have that good of a season at it. And I said, okay, that's fair, but that's the strikeout rate they have now. And that doesn't mean that they're going to end the season that way.
I know.
You were the two guys. The two guys you brought up in that, among others. One was Wroblewski, I believe.
Yeah.
The other was your sleeper pick, the Troy Melton, the breakout guy.
And they both have I mean, that's really frustrating as an analyst because it's true. These things are supposed to be sticky and they're supposed to be stable really quickly, but sometimes they grow. Sometimes these pitchers grow and change. And
how do you conflict? How do you compare it for Melton specifically? Obviously, I'm a Tigers homer, but how do you compare that with how much strikeout stuff he had shown in the minors? Because that's what kind of kept me bought in, was that it was a small sample and I wasn't going to judge him yet until he really kind of got going.
I think you have to look at what we've seen in past track records, and I think Melton had shown strikeout upside. I think you also listen, if everybody had the time to do an individual pitcher deep dive, you could say, okay, this guy's strikeout rate is 17%, but if you look at how he uses this pitch in these counts, and you could see that there's some strikeout upside here, so there's a path forward for him to get more strikeouts if he starts to go to the curveball more against lefties or whatever it is. And then you could say, okay, yes, this guy is in a position to be a regression candidate because of this. However, if he starts to do this thing, then there's a path forward. And
but also you can't rank him based on if he might do this.
For sure. You can't.
Yeah. Well, okay. That's actually the fun argument though, is because one of the things I really like doing is getting guys who I'm fine with. Like Melton, even though he didn't have the highest strikeout rate, was still performing well because he was commanding well. He was locating
He's
well.
going
He
deep
was,
in games
and
too.
he had stuff that did suggest that he should be getting a little bit more of a strikeout rate. I think with like the wider arsenal, with four seamers being 96 plus, with a slider, cutter, changeup, etc. I think actually splitter lefties. And then the thing about Melton is that you look at him and go, right. A lot of the times, the guys who are able to get through innings are gonna add something. They're gonna tweak with this. You know, they're not a command specialist for not tweaking, right? So generally, those are the ones
guys
in
who
my
have
head
big
that I feel
arsenals,
confident
like maybe
that they're gonna make a
they'll
switch in some point.
Yeah, if
And-
they have 5 pitches, maybe they can feature one of those pitches or improve. one of
Right,
those
or maybe the
pitches.
cutter gets
Right.
used more, right? Exactly, that kind
Yeah.
of thing. And Melton, as someone who's just induced a ton of weak contact a lot, it just did not. And like the floor to me is not the same as your, I don't know, your Nick Martinez, for example. Sorry, Nick, I love that you're doing amazing things. I love that you just had an All-Star game appearance. That was so cool. And that's not
At
as
least
believable. as
Nick
him.
Martinez has a 4% walk rate. The
Right.
reason I said at the beginning that Erod is the king of this, he has
I didn't
neither
say that.
good 17K, 8 walk, like neither end of it is good. He
Yeah.
is the most magician guy going right now, and I love Erod. I've liked him his
But
whole
Eric's
career. I root
Eric's
for him,
name
but it's
is
terrible.
really interesting on this one because in the context of what we're talking about. Because
Oh man, so you know,
there's
keeping
some
it-
minor league stuff that's a little bit better. There's some Arsenal. He's young. You could
Yeah, let's
dream on
talk
him,
Jake
but I
Bennett
tend to
then.
agree with
yeah.
Eric.
Let's talk Jake Bennett, but before I do, I have to say, Spore, I remember the
Yes.
text you sent me when you read my blurb in Eduardo Rodriguez after writing your blurb on Eduardo Rodriguez, which was like, he's not this bad. And
Right.
I'm patting ourselves in the back for that.
And we the way we said it was like identical too. It was,
Yeah, it was.
crazy how identical
It was
we were
awesome.
on it. And we're technically right. We'll check in October if he
I mean,
blows all this.
doesn't
But
matter. We've
so
already
far,
won. It
we're
doesn't
so
matter. You can just
correct.
drop him if it's bad. Eric Samolsky, talk to us about Jake Bennett because I know that you've been really on the Jake Bennett train for a while. We've been exchanging after like every single start that he's had. Tell us more.
Yeah, so I like Jake Bennett. And so this isn't like a, hey, Jake Bennett is bad. But this is a, Jake Bennett has a 2.64 ERA. And I don't see that continuing. And so I think there's going to be regression for Jake Bennett. I do like, as we've talked about, fastball up, change up, low and away. As a lefty against righties, he is a swatch. That is very useful. And you saw Noah Cameron basically do the same thing for the entire
whole
year
second
last
half.
With
year.
the worst,
Well, yeah, all year, really.
And-
worst fastball, yeah.
And that also doesn't factor in the fact that Jake Bennett has like over 7 feet of extension
Yeah.
on his fastball. So even though it's a 93 mile an hour fastball, it's like a 95, 96 mile an hour fastball. And so that
And Boston's
allows it to
Dev
play
over
up
KC.
a little bit.
Yeah.
I think that this is more just, look, it's been 4 really good starts. There was a start against Toronto in here that was also fine. But the 4 really good starts have been against the Rockies, the Angels, the White Sox without Murakami in the lineup, and they were struggling a little bit, and the Yankees without Judge and Grisham in the lineup, and that was when the Yankees, I mean, they're maybe still struggling to hit a little bit, but when the Yankees were really struggling, and that's not to say, I don't think we're going to see results quite like we're at right now. The other guy that I had also, I just checked just to make sure, since May 13th, which is a Wednesday, which is why I picked May 13th. It's basically about 2 months, in the last 2 months. Brandon Young has a sub 20% strikeout rate. I have never been on the Brandon Young train. I don't believe it. I know some people really like Brandon Young. The only reason he wasn't my pick is because in Yahoo formats, he's only rostered in like 29% of leagues. So I don't think a lot of people, I guess, in all formats are really buying in. But I'm not on the Brandon Young train, and so I expect regression there. And another guy I'll just say over the last 2 months, and I know that Nick has pointed out he's had some good starts in there, but a sub 18% strikeout rate and essentially a 9% walk rate for Michael King over the last 2 months.
Ooh.
been brutal.
And That has led to a 470 Sierra over the last 2 months. And I know we don't look at things
It's
like
a
that.
450 Sierra for the year.
And
Yeah.
Nick has talked a lot about like individual starts and King's changeup in particular, and how often he gets whiffs on that. And there was a long stretch where he wasn't getting any whiffs. And I know it's been a little bit better, but King is somebody where we might not see it click back in.
Oh yeah, no, I mean with King specifically, it's all right. He's a crossbody pitcher, so when he does get that logged in, that actually it's kind of like Freddie Peralta in a way.
Yeah.
Like it's been bad, and it could just be great. Like that is one where if you have a good rotation and Michael King is the one that's annoying you, I would drop even though it could break out because he is the biggest risk of hurting you constantly. Right, it's like why I dropped Sandy Alcantara in like late April or so, because I was like, you know what, my rotation's great, and this is the one problem. Even though he's doing much better now, I feel fine about that because at the time I had to, I got other guys in and I won those.
Yeah,
weeks,
you got to
right?
make choices.
Hey
yeah.
Nick,
So,
what if you have Michael King on a team where you also have Bubba Chandler and Tatsuya Imai?
Well, you know what, next year is looking great.
Wait,
So
wait. Hang on, real quick on King.
sell.
There's been some skill issues, but it's still a 341 ERA and a 115 whip. Like you're still winning with King's
Sure,
results
yeah,
so
yeah.
far. And I agree with y'all's
Man.
concerns about these skills coming back up to get him.
I would
So,
just
like,
maybe
I'm-
be careful on the road or something. Like there might be a start on the road, like where like one start on the road against the Dodgers. In the past, you might be like, it's Michael King, I'll start him. But this
yeah, I'll
time you
keep him
might
in
be
there.
like,
Yeah,
eh.
don't set it and forget it with him. I think is the better strategy than like outright cutting him preemptively. Because
depends on your situation. Of course, it's the king without his crown right now.
Hey,
Yes.
hey.
Okay. My regression candidate is going to surprise you guys. I'm wondering
Well,
if you
there's
can
nobody
guess who this
listed.
is. The last 12 games, this pitcher has a 198 ERA, a 103 WHIP, a 7% walk rate, and a 25% K rate with a 9-0 record across
What?
about 73 innings.
Aaron Ashby.
Okay. He he just had starts against the Yankees, Angels, and the Mets to give you guys some help. He's averaging about 10 whiffs a game in that time, but really specifically, he had an 11 strikeout game in Coors on June 23rd. And I
Robbie
imagine
Ray?
a lot of
Robbie
people
Ray?
want me to push him up. What is it?
Robbie Ray.
Robbie
Oh,
Ray?
sorry.
No, it's not Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray is really hilarious, by the way. He's just
Is
like,
that-
I'm trying, guys. I'm trying everything.
Sinkers.
It is Sonny Gray.
Is it Sonny? It's Sonny
Ah.
Gray.
Yeah, you got it, Eric.
was
There
about
you
to say
go.
that.
That to me he's the perfect regression candidate because this is what Sonny Gray does. Sonny Gray, my whole bit on him is that he's mostly sunny and sometimes gray. And it's just
pretty
like
funny.
that is who he is. And it's often when the sweeper's working really well to opposite handed batters is when he's getting the backdoor sinkers work into righties for put away as a put away pitch. It's just one of the things he goes in and out. And he's on a very good run at the moment. I'm really happy for him. He only has one game above 300 runs this entire season, which is kind of bonkers to me.
The-
You don't think
273
he's
BABIP
actually
will do
pitching
that.
so well. And the fact of the matter is that across his last 9 games, 5 of them have fewer than 10 whiffs, is a little shaky in my view.
Sub
it just
10%
kinda
swing
showcases, like,
strike.
this is the year.
I had to write him up
That
for
guy.
like trade stuff, and I was just like, the sweeper's still there, but the strikeout rate's down, and like it's just I don't
It's
know.
not
Wait,
as
when did-
glistening as it looks. So that's
He's
my
throwing the
regression
cutter
candidate
more or something.
for
He's-
someone that is a bigger name that a lot of people actually would attach, saying, "No, this is great. This is
He's
going
doing
keep
like
going."
the weak contact
Maybe-
thing
He
instead
is-
of getting
it's
whipped.
not-
He is throwing the cutter more. I will also, the fact that he wasn't an all-star is ridiculous, but that's okay.
Agreed.